the second week we did drive-in church, they're predicting a beautiful day for Sunday. So I hope you're making your plans to be with us this Sunday at 10:30. Guys are back in the back doing meals, some 125 meals or so that they're doing on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Pantries giving out food. We're ministering to people. Just ask you to keep praying for those, especially Charles Davis. He has a cancer there on his stomach, and he's decided not to do any kind of treatment for that. Remember to pray for Charles and Charlinda and her three boys, and pray for them. We come this morning in the book of Matthew again, Matthew chapter 10. The Bible says, "Are not two sparrows sold for a farthing? And one of them shall not fall on the ground without your Father. But the very hairs of your head are all numbered. Fear ye not, therefore. Ye are of more value than many sparrows." Read a story, a fantasy story about a mouse. It happened in fantasy world. A mouse was playing under the bushes when a cat spotted it and chased it away to the fields. The mouse was scared to death. He called out for the fairy godmother and asked that he be transformed to a cat. So she did. The mouse became a cat. One day the cat was running out in the prairie when a dog spotted it, and he chased the cat into the woods. Cat was scared to death, called out to the fairy godmother and requested it be transformed to a dog. So he became a dog. And then one sunny day, the dog was searching for food in the woods when a tiger spotted it, chased it all the way to the river. The dog was scared to death. It called out to its fairy godmother, begged it be transformed to a tiger. And so she did it. One morning at sunrise, the tiger was prowling in the hills when a couple of native hunters spotted it, chased it all the way into the jungle. The natives make use of tiger skin and fur as their clothing. So the tiger was scared to death and called out for its fairy godmother and demanded it be transformed to a hunter. The fairy godmother firmly replied. She said, "I've transformed you from a mouse to a cat to a dog, from a dog to a tiger, and now you want to be transformed from a tiger to a native hunter. I can make you whatever you wish to become, but if your heart remains to be the heart of a mouse, you'll always live in fear." Let me tell you, ask you this morning, are you living in fear? There's a lot of fear around us. If you're living in fear, is it helping anything? Does God want us to live in fear? 2 Timothy 1:7 has been quoted probably more than any verse in the last month. That God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. Can I tell you something the Lord showed me this morning? The birds are still singing. They're still singing. My hip pain has gotten worse. I don't sleep about 2 hours at a time. And I get up, and this morning I got up early. We had a thunderstorm blow through. I opened the back door, and you know what I heard? I heard the birds were still singing. They didn't have a care in this world. In biblical days, the birds were used for various offerings, namely for the poor people and for the lepers. If you didn't have enough money to buy a lamb or a sacrifice there, God made it so easy you could do it with birds. These little birds were such insignificant value. They were sold in pairs. You could get 2 pairs for 2 farthings, and they would throw in a 5th one for free. So a farthing is about 1/4 of a penny. So you could get 5 birds for 1/2 of a penny. Leviticus 14 tells us how they sacrificed the birds. "Then shall the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 birds, alive, clean, cedar wood, scarlet, and hyssop. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in an earthen vessel over running water. As for the living bird, he shall take it and the cedar wood and the scarlet and the hyssop, and shall dip them and the living bird in the blood of the bird that was killed. And he shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field. Can you just see two little birds being offered up as for this leper who was healed of this terrible disease? One of those little birds was killed, and then his blood was sprinkled upon the living bird. And then that living bird was set free in the fields to sail away and sing of the joyous freedom. That's a beautiful portrayal of what Christ has done for us. He took the brunt of my sin and your sin and shed his precious blood for us. He paid the ultimate price, and his blood was applied to our hearts, and we're set free. Because we're set free, we ought to be singing. Can you just see that little bird as he lifts up his body into the air, and the feathers showing the red stains of the blood, and he sees a little bird land upon a branch, and he lifts his little voice up in praise, and another little bird lands next to him and says, "Why are you singing so joyfully?" And the little bird holds up his wings and shows him the red stains of blood, tells him that he's singing because the other bird gave his life so he could be set free. Sing on, little bird, sing on. You ask me why I'm happy? I'll tell you why I'm happy. I'm happy and singing because my sins are gone. Jesus Christ died for me, and I'm free. I'm free to sing my song. But not only God takes care of us today, he takes care of us tomorrow and next week and next month and next year until the world comes to an end. His eye is on the sparrow, so we should know that he watches out for us. America is facing some tough times. People are worried. People are scared. Things are out of sorts. Churches are not meeting and to help reduce the spreading of this virus. But God's not abandoned us. No matter what you're facing, no matter what we're facing, no matter what our nation is facing, the birds are still singing. His Eyes on the Sparrow was written by Sevilla Martin. She was a wife of a Baptist pastor. She describes in her own words how she came to write this song. It was the spring of 1905, and her husband and her were up in Elmira, New York, and they became good friends with a couple named Mr. and Mrs. Doolittle. They were true saints of God. Miss Doolittle had been ridden in bed for more than 20 years. Her husband had an incurable, crippling disease, had to use a wheelchair to go back and forth, but despite all of their afflictions, they lived happy Christian lives, always bringing an inspiration to people all around them. One day while they were visiting with the Doolittles, she said my husband commented on their hopefulness, their brightness, and asked them the secret of their joy. And Miss Doolittle said this. She said, "If his eye is on the sparrow, then I know he watches me." The beauty of that expression, she said, caught my heart. And that same evening, I went home and wrote the words for this song. And the rest, they say, of course, is history. But if you're discouraged, if you're afraid of the future, if you're struggling with the problems of today, listen again to this song. Why should I be discouraged? Why should the shadows come? Why should my heart feel lonely and long for heaven and home? When Jesus is my portion, a constant friend is he. His eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. I sing because I'm happy. I sing because I'm free. For his eye is on the sparrow, and I know he watches me. The birds are still singing. What about you? God bless you.